Problem bank list is published by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. I would love to see the banks on this list. It is not public knowledge and nobody can see it. But they look at, based on their audits and their evaluation, the banks that very likely will not survive. It's called Problem Bank List. Look what's happened. In 12 of 06, December of 06, we had 50 banks. 07, 08, this is June of 08, September of 08, and look at December of 08. 252 banks, in their opinion, could fail.
Or get bought out by someone else.
That's right. And those banks buying a lot of bad assets. Scary. That's scary. And again, this is from the FDIC, so the numbers are good. It's probably a conservative number.
It's a problem. It's a problem with the government. They know they won't survive. Why they allow them to buy?
They're about out of money. Now, let's look at some other things that are happening. Look at this. Look at net operating income. It's from the FDIC. Look what's happened as of December of 2008. Then look at the securities gains and losses. Look what happened in December. We started going down, and then look what happened in December. It plummeted. Now, this is interesting. Quarterly charge-offs of bad loans, and loans are non-current. People that are not keeping up with their payments. What happened? Well, charge-offs, as of December, went way up, but look at non-current loans. Look what's happening.
And that does not include credit cards.
That does not include credit cards.
That is mortgage and personal consumer loans.
That's right. Think about what will happen if you look at credit cards. This is scary, folks. These are FDIC numbers. Now, yes?
Credit card is about 30% of the total amount.
Yes. And I'll tell you a story in a few minutes about some credit card issues. But, folks, there are people who have credit cards with tremendously large balances. And I'll tell you a couple stories in a moment that are true stories that scared me, that I did not realize in a few minutes.
I'm sorry, I
Sure.
heard a report yesterday on Bloomberg Television, and it is expected that in 2009, more than $2.7 trillion will have to be pulled from credit card balances from people who have good credit records because they're going to have to cover all the
Bad ones.
credit records.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about credit cards just a second before I go on. There are two things I think you can do to make it through this crisis in the United States. I think the one thing is you have to have very low credit card balances. Now, in my family, I have one credit card. It's in my billfold right now because I have a wife and two daughters that are at home, and they tend to use my credit card, so it's in my pocket right here, and it's paid off every month. I'm serious. And you better have some cash. A good friend of mine, I'll have a slide in a minute, but I'm going to tell you about this. He works for Arvest. Arvest is a banking group owned by the Walton family. It's one of the most solid banks in Arkansas. They did not make subprime loans. They did not get into subprime loan mess. He said, Rick, all of us have customers here in Nicaragua that you would love to do business with. Well, there's a guy in Clarksville, he did not tell me who, but he said it would be our dream to have his account. He said, one morning he walks into my bank and says, Steve, I want to do business with you. And he said, I was on cloud 9. I've tried to get this guy's business for years. He said, all right, what do you need? Well, I want to borrow a little bit of money. He said, man, that's great. Let's fill out a loan application to get a financial statement. He brings it in the next day, and Stephen looks at it. His personal credit card balance was $80,000 at 31%. He said, what happened? Well, he said, over the years, my wife and I took some vacations, and it just got out of hand. He said, I can't make you a loan. There was a couple people who were in their 70s, middle 70s. They came in to see Stephen. And he said, what can I do for you? He said, well, we've got a little problem here. We probably need to get a second mortgage on our home. And he said, why? They had over $75,000 in credit card balance, and they were in their mid-70s. He is now working as a door greeter at Walmart, and his wife's a cashier at Walmart in their mid-70s. And they're probably going to lose their house. Folks, that's scary. As I said, keep the credit card balances low, and mine is in my pocket right here, seriously. Keep some cash. The credit cards will be a major thing. I teach for an MBA program for Nova Southeastern University online. And I asked my students the other day, I have about 100 students in 6 different classes. I'm teaching operations management and some other management classes. I said, have any of you had your credit card balances lowered? Several of them said, yes, we have. In fact, one of the girls said, I just went to use my credit card a week ago, and they said, you don't have enough money in your card. And she said, what do you mean? So, well, you're at your maximum. She calls the bank. They had lowered her balance. So, yes, those of us who pay our credit card balance are going to suffer for those who are not. You know, when I was a banker, it always scared me. You know, if I give you a credit card, I can't repossess your shirt or your pants or the dinner you had today, your lunch. I can repossess a house or a car. There's no collateral for credit cards. And folks, remember the last 4 or 5 years, our university students were getting, and Michelle can tell you this, 4 or 5 offers a day for credit cards. College students. So now banks have realized that they've gotten themselves in trouble. Now let's look at this. The quarterly change in non-current loans. Non-current loans, again, are going up. These are mortgage loans. And charge-offs, again, continue to grow. Folks, it gets worse. Here's an interesting chart. Non-current loan rate and then the quarterly charge-offs kind of has a little more of a different graph, a line graph. You'll see they're pretty well following each other. And this, the charge-offs are starting to come right back up. And we're seeing it in the hospital business. I can tell you that at our hospital, and other companies are seeing the same thing. It's a scary thing. Other issues, again, credit cards, personal and unsecured personal loans. Banks made a lot of unsecured personal loans, and car loans. Now we're seeing people not being able to make the car loans, the payments, and then what will happen?
What will happen because some of these car loans were made by the manufacturers, and I think they have a back. If they return the car, they have to take the car back.
Well, that's going to be a problem. Of course, General Motors have General Motors Finance Corporation, Chrysler Credit, Ford Motor Credit. That's going to be a major because they can't sell cars anyway now. What are they going to do with all the cars if they do take them, repossess them?
He's advertising that they'll guarantee that if you lose your job, you can return.
1 year you can return the car. Well, think about General Motors. What if General Motors has to go out and repossess a large number of cars? All right, already they're in trouble. They can't sell the new cars they're producing. Look at our car lots they're packed. What are they going to do with these?
But the government gives good money right now to restart industry. It means that money's going to go forward to cover part of the loss.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to know how much longer the government will be able to do that. I mean, I still think what's going to happen with General Motors, you'll see a reorganization, you'll see bankruptcy, reorganization. What's killing them, of course, is the union contracts. It's killing them. They've got to get out of those. I'm sorry. I mean, you may be for unions. I'm not saying I'm for or against, but the union contracts is killing General Motors. Honestly, it is. Reorganization would probably be the best method for them to go through. But look at how many billions we've already given them. The auditors just said 2 weeks ago, after completing the audit of General Motors, they won't survive. They're not going to survive.
South Carolina.
And did you know why the Southern the Southern congressmen and senators did not support the bailout? Because you have Toyota, you have Mercedes-Benz, you have Nissan, you have, I think Volvo's there, I mean, BMW's there. And guess what? And they're not union. And they're making high-quality cars, and they're making some money. They didn't support the bailout. And you know, folks, in a capitalistic society, don't you live and die by your decisions? Sure, absolutely. At our hospital, folks, if we make bad decisions, nobody's going to bail us out. And I'm the secretary of the board. I'm the one guy that's the finance guy. I keep always asking questions about our financial status. We've got to make good decisions because no one will come to our rescue. We'll be gone if we don't make good decisions. But again, those car companies are using American employees, high-quality products, and they're making some money. Now, they're making probably $20, $25 an hour versus $60 or $70. Now, I would love, folks, as a teacher, if you give me $70 an hour just to put a bolt in a car all day long, I could probably do that. Because that's a lot more money than I make teaching, okay? I could do that. Think about that, $70, $80 just to do one simple procedure.
But not only that, all the people that are alive, getting an amount, enormous amount.
Yeah.
They are alive.
Well, think about the retirements that General Motors has promised. Huge amounts of retirement. Now, that's also another thing that, the auditor said you can't live up to those obligations for retirement. Something has to happen. So again, you're right. In South Carolina, in the southern states, Toyota, Mercedes, BMW, they're doing great. And therefore, the senators and congressmen said, we can't support this. General Motors needs to look at what they're doing. It works. It's using American labor, high-quality products. And they're making money. If we get too much of protectionism and we really start protecting the automobile companies, I think the other countries are going to say, hey, then we'll start doing the same thing. We're not going to buy your products. So we have to be very, very careful how much protectionism we have.
So you please show to us the first signal of the first 3 minutes,
Number one,
the first one.
first,
The 18 or 20 might not the first one.
Tell you where to stop at.
Starting your conference.
The first slide.